All right, I'm gonna make some pumpkin soup. So I've got a couple of tablespoons of oil in there, and it's warmed up. I'm gonna add an onion that I've pre-chopped. And I'm just gonna saute the onion. Get it all out. And I also have coriander seeds in here. See if I can take them out to show you what they look like. I just like to put them in the pepper mill just because it's easy. But this is what coriander seeds look like. Put those back in there. And put that back together. Okay, so this is just really basic. But anyway, I'm going to put some coriander in here. And I'm just going to let it cook with the onion a little bit. You can see all the liquid coming out of the onions in there. Maybe add a little bit more coriander in there. Now the reason that I put it through the pepper mill is that when you do this, you want to puree your onions. And because the coriander seeds are so small, they don't always catch it. So you don't want somebody to like just get like a hard bite of a coriander seed all of a sudden in their soup when they're eating it, because it's going to be a pretty smooth soup. So we're going to let this go for a few minutes and let it just kind of saute, and then I'll puree it in a minute. All right, the onions have softened. They're not fully cooked, but they're pretty soft, so that's what we want. And the coriander is cooked into them a little bit. You can kind of smell it in here. Anyway, I'm going to put this into my mixer here. Okay, so there is my onions and my coriander is now in there. And I have some pumpkin here. I'm going to put a little bit of the pumpkin in there just to help it mix, because my pumpkin is pretty liquid, so I need a spoon to get it out of here. And it's just because if you don't mix stuff with liquid, it's just harder for it to mix together. And pumpkin is pretty good for that, so. Actually, it's not thin enough, so I'm going to get some of our chicken broth that we're going to use with the soup and actually put that in there. Okay. This is just regular chicken broth, nothing special. Now it's getting more like how we want it. Maybe just add a little bit more chicken broth in there just to make sure that I get everything pureed.
Chicken broth onion smoothie.
With a little bit of pumpkin in there. that's all smooth. And so what we're going to do now is we're going to add it into our pot. Just try and get as much of it out of there as I can. And that's what you want it to be, super smooth like that. Okay, now I'm going to add in my pumpkin. This is, let's see, about 1.5 cups of pumpkin for this little container.
You cooked this via the cooking tutorial before?
Yeah, the same way, except that I put all of it through the blender just to make it easier, because you can like blend it later, but it's kind of a pain in the butt to blend it later. So if I'm gonna make soup with it or pie, I just blend it before. Yeah, so this is about another 1.5 cups of soup, or of pumpkin. And it's just pumpkin, nothing else in it, just plain pumpkin. Okay. And so I'm going to stir that together because I want to mix all that onion paste in there. And I've got one more thing of pumpkin here that I'm going to add. And this is about 1 cup of pumpkin. So altogether that's like 4 cups of pumpkin. And then I'm going to add in my chicken broth, and this is about 1/2 liter of chicken broth here. You can also use vegetable broth if you don't like, if you don't want to use the chicken broth, if you want it to be like more vegetarian or something. And now I'm just going to let it cook together, and even though everything's already cooked, I just want it to come up to like a simmer together, just to make all the flavors blend together. As you can see, it's really smooth, which is exactly what you want. You want it to be super smooth like that. So basically you're just heating it through at this point. This is like a really basic pumpkin soup. Okay, so the pumpkin soup is all finished, and at this point, if you want to, you can add in salt and pepper to taste. And just take a little bit of sour cream, put it in the bowl, just because it adds a little bit of an extra tang to it. And then just pour that over. And then you can take your spoon and mix in your sour cream however you want. It's very good. So that's just a really basic squash soup that you can use with any kind of squash.